Field as the Oklahoma Sooners are set for Game 3 against the University of Houston. And as the Sooners are taking the field, the sophomore lefty, Kirsten Deal, getting the start in the circle, picked up her 9th win on the season earlier this week as she tossed a no-no against Tulsa on Tuesday. And Nicole, what has been kind of the shift for the sophomore and kind of starting to find her way and settle in the circle?
I think it's just being able to get out and get those appearances on the mound. She didn't get a ton. She got some, but not in the role that she is in for Oklahoma this year. And it's just getting those experiences, gaining that confidence, understanding situations, feeling out pitches. It takes a moment, and that's why she's getting the start today. Oklahoma wants Kirsten Deal to be ready for whenever conference tournament comes around, for whenever postseason comes around.
And a good opportunity to get ready against a very strong Houston offensive lineup. And there's a good look at the Houston Cougars starting lineup. Lear Boutte getting the start in the leadoff spot as she has been all season. Kennedy Thomas and Jasmine Rowland in the 3-hole hit a 2-run bomb here last night that might still be rolling. One of the furthest hit balls we've seen here at Loves Field so far. And we are set here for first pitch.
Yeah, in this U of H lineup, it's lefty heavy. There's 6 lefties in their lineup. And like you said, there's a lot of power whenever you have that lefty-lefty matchup. For them, lefties especially with this crosswind, don't try to overswing. Have short swings, stay long through the zone. Don't try to overswing and swing for the fences. With this crosswind, it's going to hold up.
We're underway as Deal is looking to continue to just settle. And she's been so good on the season. Again, 9-1. But a good opportunity here for the sophomore to face a Houston lineup that, again, has power, has speed, can do a little bit of everything. They've put up a lot of runs on the season. Boutte, a Riverside, California native, 1 for 3 in Game 2 with a run scored, and has really been the table setter for this Houston Cougar lineup.
That curveball, you're going to see that pitch often. Deal, she can work both sides of the plate, the lefty curveball with the back door, and then going across the plate. She tunnels those two really well.
2-2 delivery is popped to the left side, but Riley Boone is going to glove it for the first out of the inning, and that's a big out for Deal in the circle to sit down Boutte and bring up Kennedy Thomas. Thomas, another lefty on this very lefty-heavy Houston lineup, and Thomas 0 for 3 here last night, but the senior, another piece in this Houston lineup that can wreak havoc. Thomas hitting .378 on the season, and has started every game for Houston so far this year. Deal ahead here, no balls and 2 strikes. Thomas also leads this Houston team in stolen bases, 13 on the season. Steele misses outside to even it up at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Good crowd here at Loves Field on this Sunday afternoon, as we've seen since Loves Field has opened.
Seeing Deal in these first 2 batters go pretty deep into counts, not a 1-2-3. But what we have seen from those pitches, she's at 10 pitches and 2 batters. We've seen her go tight with that back door and then also tunneling that with that rise ball in on the hands.
2-2, and there's that rise ball again. Deal records her first strikeout of the ball game, and changing the eyes and working the ladder with that rise ball.
Look at the start of this pitch. It starts at the belt and then just continues well above the shoulders. This is such a good pitch, and you can see the way that Thomas, she leaves her legs. She's not able to have any power behind it.
Strikeout to bring up senior Jasmine Rollin, and Rollin responsible for the only 2 Houston runs that have been put on the board this weekend after she had a 2-run home run here last night. Marked her 10th on the year.
With the swing that Rollins had last night, it's very obvious what kind of power she is packing. It is one of the hardest home runs and the farthest that I've seen so far this year in Love's Field. In Oklahoma, they've done a good job of keeping her, for the most part, quiet. Kirsten Deal, she wants to maintain that trend that Oklahoma has set, being able to change eye level, being able to change planes in and out. That's going to be key, not just for Roland, but for the entire lineup.
Deal fires the 1-2. Little change of speeds and misses low. Talked about Rollins' home run here last night, her only hit on the weekend. Deal brings the 2-2, catches the inside corner and freezes Rollin. Back-to-back Ks for the sophomore. We're scoreless as we go to the...
Like she's thrown more this series, but in reality, she's only thrown about 2.5, maybe 3 innings so far in the first 2 games. I think Waiters and Solis have been the most effective so far against Oklahoma. Now the key today is keep that effectiveness, but also be efficient through the zone. The balls to strike ratio for Houston, for all of their pitchers, have been more teetered on the side of double balls to strikes. And you want to flip that and be able to be effective with your pitches.
Waiters has thrown 3 innings here so far in this series, but this is her first start. Came out of the bullpen in game 1, threw an inning and a third, came out of the bullpen here last night, threw an inning and 2/3, but had some effective moments, has given up 3 runs in those innings that she's thrown. But again, I'm with you, Nicole. We talked about it a lot. You feel like she's thrown more innings than she has because she's faced 18 batters in 3 innings. So getting the start here today, but falls behind Ella Parker. Here, 2 balls and a strike. And Parker in the leadoff spot here today, went 1 for 3 here in game 2. The count evens up at 2, and Parker getting the start in the leadoff spot. A few changes. Jennings in the 2-hole and Jada Coleman in the 3 spot. Not in the starting lineup in game 2, but back in today. Pickering in the 5 slot, and seeing Kinsey Hansen moved down just a bit as that pitch is laced down the left field line. Ella Parker has herself a stand-up double to get things started here for the Sooners in the bottom half of the first.
That ball was ripped by Ella Parker. We always say it, but there's some kind of magnet out there by third baseline, because the balls that get hit down there are just ricocheted. That one, the way that this field, this stadium is set up down that third baseline, it juts out the wall. So if it hits a wall, it bounces back onto the field of play. Butte, she kind of had to take a second, chase after the ball, but no harm done.
Off speed, struck well to center field, but Thomas will make the catch at the warning track. Parker will tag up and move up to 3rd. And Jennings continuing to see the ball well. We saw her hit the ball really hard last night. Another good stroke there on the sacrifice fly.
Yeah, she didn't see a lot of on-base time, but like you said, she She hit the ball so hard. It was just right to people. If you're Tiare Jennings, even though you're not getting on base, you're really happy with how you're seeing the ball and how well you're hitting it.
Jada Coleman in the 3-hole for the Sooners here today. We're so used to seeing her in that leadoff slot. But as we mentioned, a couple changes with the lineup. And, you know, you get the feeling, we see Coach Gasso do this a lot throughout the season, but continuing to shift up that lineup and see where you can get the most production. As Kinsey Hansen has been moved down to the 6th slot. Avery Hodge in the 7. Jada Coleman getting an opportunity in the middle part of this lineup.
You're going to see a lot of off-speed from Waiters. She's going to be floating in those change-ups. What she cannot fall victim to is she did that in Game 1 and Game 2, completely fooled Oklahoma. They're ready for that. They have 2 days of film to prepare. She needs to be able to mix that with those hard pitches.
And one thing we have spoken a lot about a lot during this series, Nicole, is how well Waiters has utilized the off-speed. She throws it in hitters counts. We just saw her throw it in a 2-0. And has done a really good job of using her off-speed pitches at any count and in any time. But the 3-1 misses inside. And Jada Coleman draws the 1-out walk to bring up Alyssa Brito with runners at first and second.
And you can feel the energy from Oklahoma. They started off with Ella Parker, that hard hit down the line. Then you had Tiare Jennings have a hard line drive. Jada Coleman drawing a walk. And I'm looking into the dugout. They are all crowded around. That is always a good sign for Oklahoma. Whenever their energy is high, their offense is not far behind. I haven't seen them crowded around the dugout quite like that all series so far. Yes, they have run ruled their first 2, but the energy seems very alert and very intentional.
And so similar to what Coach Gasso had to say before the game. We had the opportunity to catch up with her, but kind of saying, wanting to see more out of this team. And, you know, I think she's getting the feeling as Jada Coleman takes advantage on a little bit of a hesitation from Cougar catcher Tria Coleman on the throw back to her pitcher, and Coleman takes off on the delay steal to get into scoring position.
I think Coleman was waiting for that throw to go back to the pitcher, try to draw a throw. She goes, you know what? They're not even going to bother. I'm going to go ahead.
This is hit well in the left center field gap off the wall. Parker will score. Around comes Coleman. And not stopping as Alyssa Brito dives head first into third for a 2 RBI triple. Make it 2-zip Sooners here in the first.
Alyssa Brito legging it out. If this throw is on plane, you might see a different result, but regardless, this one, I mean, it hits the white at the top of the fence, but if that throw is on plane, she is hosed out at third. Absolutely a double, a triple, I don't know. Took the risk, it paid off.
And Brito put her head down. There was no stopping. Coming around second base, as head coach Kristen Vesely and pitching coach Hope Trotwine out to have a chat with the battery and their defense. But Sooners is kind of getting back to what we were talking about of what Coach Gasso had to say before the game, saying we have run-ruled the first 2 games and it was good, but I still want to see more. And talking about being in first place in the Big 12, we're in a good position, is what Coach had to say, but it was, we can still do more. We can still continue to get better. And you feel like that's the challenge that Coach Gasso gave this team here today.
To me, it looks like the Sooners are set up late timing, so they're ready for the off speed that they know that she throws a lot. Waiters, that has been her bread and butter, but also whenever she throws that pitch on the outer half that maybe isn't a changeup, but it is a little bit slower than something tied in on the hands, their timing is set up for that. And those are the pitches that they have blasted. You had Parker, you had Jennings, you have Brito, Coleman, of course, with the walk. But they are clearly setting up for that later timing.
The second triple on the weekend for Alyssa Brito brings up Cassidy Pickering. If you're just tuning in and you blinked, Sooners up 2-0 here in the bottom of the first. Two extra base hits in the inning so far, as Ella Parker started the game off with a double. Waiters fires the 2-0 and misses low and falls behind here. 3 balls and no strikes. As we mentioned, Waiters' first start here this weekend has thrown 3 1/3 inning, but in that time has walked 4. So as good of a job as she's done at times of keeping hitters off balance, has had issues from time to time of finding the strike zone. Misses inside, and Pickering is aboard with the second walk here in the inning to bring up Kinsey Hansen.
If you're Waiters, you came out with a certain game plan. Try to flip in the change often, try to be able to adjust it. Oklahoma, they came out ready for that. We see Vesley go ahead, call to the bullpen.
And it looks like that is going to be the day for Waiters, as Houston going with what looks like Shelby Smith. We're going to tell you more about that pitching change when we come back.
Geico makes car insurance easy as getting stuffed up during allergy season.
Before all the pollen, I used to stop and smell everything. The smell of fresh cut grass, my coffee in the morning, the hot dog smell from the hot dog guy. You did this to me.
With an app that puts your policy in your pocket.
Facing Kinsey Hansen with 1 out and runners at first and third here in the bottom of the first. Trying to speed this game up. It's not the fourth. We're just in the first. And Smith got the start last night, picked up the loss for Houston through 2 innings, gave up 7 runs on 8 hits, 6 of those earned. As Hansen pops this bunt up on the right side, and everyone headed back, but Pickering taking advantage of this Houston infield not covering second base. Heads up play on what was a botched bunt by Kinsey Hansen.
Exactly what you said, turning a bad situation into something that's still productive. I have not seen that from Oklahoma, and that is so good to see today. That one, a bunt, you draw in all the infield. Cassidy Pickering comes, tags, second base is left wide open, no one covering. She takes full advantage.
Avery Hodge stands in, runners at second and third, and 2 outs after the popped up bunt. And Hodge got the start in game 2 and was dynamite on every side of the ball. Doing a great job up the middle at second base, making some good plays. 1 for 2 on the night in game 2. As Shelby Smith fires the 1-0. And let's go back. I mean, Kinsey Hansen shows bunt, pops it up to the right side, and Cassidy Pickering noticing
where this defense is. Second base is nowhere near, wide open. That's great heads up by a runner going, if it's a foot race, I pick myself, I know I can beat it out. Let me get in scoring position. Avery Hodge yesterday, her last at bat of game 2, she had one that was pretty deep, warning track over in left field. We've been seeing a little bit more pop from her.
Yep.
Mainly her freshman year, a lot of slap action, which she can still do, but we've been seeing a little bit more power start to come out of her swing.
Hodge, a .312 hitter with runners in scoring position, as Taria Coleman keeps that ball in front.
She's done a good job this weekend. Coleman has been pretty steady behind the plate, being able to knock those balls down. Made a really great diving play at home to save a run for Houston yesterday.
Hodge taking hacks as the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Good battle by Hodge. She's been seeing a lot of pitches out of Smith. That's what you want to see whenever you get a new pitcher.
An 8-pitch at bat as this is skied to the right side. And freshman Bethany Aguilar takes care of it, but not before the Sooners strike first. 2-0 as we head to top of the second. Let's take a look at our Riverwind keys to the game, Nicole.
I mean, for Houston, the ball-to-strike ratio is going to be so important. We've already seen it in that first inning. You cannot let these free passes happen because Oklahoma, they're going to take advantage. And then for Oklahoma, runners left on base, they already have 2. Yes, they score 2 runs, but runners on second and third, you want to find a way to at least score 1. That has been their challenge. They had 20 runners left on base in the first 2 games. That's a lot of runs that were left off the board.
And those are Riverwind keys to the game. Riverwind Casino, always a good time as Taria Coleman stands in to face Kirsten Deal. And takes the first pitch she sees in for called strike 1. And Coleman, an OU transfer, headed back home. Houston, Texas native, was 1 for 2 last night.
Again, another hitter with a lot of pop, a lot of power. But what Oklahoma has done is eluded those barrels. It's that late break, the late movement. And then with Houston, they are known for having big swings just like that one. Big one from Coleman. That doesn't work against his pitching staff. It hasn't worked the first 2 games. Shorten up those swings. Look for hard contact. Look for balls that have a downward angle. Start to see a little bit of a difference start to happen for Houston.
The 1-2, swing and a miss. 3 strikeouts in a row from Kirsten Deal, and she has really handled the top half of this Houston lineup and taking advantage of the lefty-lefty matchup a little bit.
Yeah, and again, a huge swing from Coleman on that pitch. With 2 strikes, you don't want to be swinging that much. But Deal, she knows that she can go out of the zone, up early, ahead in the count, just drops off that changeup.
The strikeout will bring up Shelby Smith, and another big hack from Smith, who has started the game in the DP slot, has entered the game defensively in the circle. Smith, a .379 hitter on the year. And to your point, Nicole, you know, one thing, we talked about this in the open of this OU defense making some really good plays at times, but when Houston has had some success this weekend, they're shortening up and they're putting the ball on the ground. Getting the ball out of the air. We've seen a lot of flyouts from this Houston offense against this OU pitching staff. But when they've shortened up, used the dirt, they've found opportunities and kind of started to get some things rolling, but just haven't been able to push things across.
That's where their exit velo increased a lot. And if you're a defender, if that velo increases, it's the same ground ball, same position, same hop, whatever. If you add a couple miles an hour onto that, it makes it a lot harder to field.
The 2-2 Ferozer on the outer half. Deal is dealing.
She is taking advantage of these hitters, especially the righties. They don't look like they're ready for that back door, and she is just pounding that outer half. Talk about efficient in the zone. A lot of pitchers pitches, gets ahead early, and then takes advantage.
A strikeout will bring up senior Bree Cantu. As Deal works inside, defensive swing to open the count from Cantu. Cantu, a senior, 294 hitter on the year, leading the starting 9 offense with 40 RBI. Another Texas native, as we see throughout this entire lineup, and sitting right next to a Texas native now, and you, Mindy. But so much softball foundation in the Houston area. Some of the best softball in the country comes out of Houston, Texas.
Yeah, and 12 of these girls are from the Houston metro area. 16 of them are from Texas. So that's more than half the team.
Deal brings the 1-2 in the rise, misses upstairs.
There's no denying that Coach Vesley, the head coach for Houston, has done a great job getting local talent. There's a ton of talent in the Houston area. Now it is all about how can we build a culture? How can we build a mindset? It's a bit of a rebuilding year for them. They've had 12 transfers in 11 transfers from Power 5 schools, and 2 of them have been from Big 12 programs. But you have that many transfers first year here. You have coaches first year. There's a lot of work and ground setting that you have to do as a team.
3-2 misses low, and Houston has their first base runner on the day to bring up freshman Bethany Aguilar, and Cantu draws another walk on the season. That is her 34th walk on the year.
I think Cantu is the best hitter in Houston's lineup, and the reason why she's hitting so low is because the top half of the lineup gets on base.
Yep.
There's a lot of ducks on the pond for her whenever she gets up to bat.
Bethany Aguilar, the only freshman in this Houston lineup, very junior and senior heavy. Aguilar has been a staple at second base here as of late. Only started 11 games on the season as this is grounded to short. Jennings is going to fire across, and that will do it here in the second. We go to the bottom half. Sooners on top, 2-zip.
Bigger savings. Download and save today.
Alina Torres leading it off in the 8-hole for the Sooners as Shelby Smith is back to work out of the bullpen for Houston. I'm DJ Sanchez alongside Nicole Mendez. Sooners put up a 2-spot in the first with a pair of extra base hits to run starter Tamaya Waiters from this game quickly. But Shelby Smith entered in a tough spot and got 2 quick outs to work out of what could have been an even bigger inning for the Sooners. So Smith trying to take this game over here in the second.
Looking at the setup of this infield, you have your first baseman, Cantu and Aguilar. They're playing pretty straight up, but looking over towards Lorenzo and Roland, she is a couple steps off the bag, shortstop, cheated over towards the 5-6 hole. It's very clear they think that Torres, she's either going to hit it oppo or pull the ball. There's a wide gap up the middle. They're leaving a lot of room for her.
Smith behind here, 3 balls and a strike, and misses low. 3rd walk delivered by Houston pitchers here today, and that has really been an issue for the staff this weekend. The walk will bring up Riley Boone with nobody out.
While no pitcher wants to get hammered, as a defense, as a team, there's nothing that you can do if a walk is drawn. There's no potential of getting an out, making a play.
Boone shows button, it'll roll foul. You know, and that's the conversation. It's a conversation you have with your pitchers, right? We can't defend walks. We can't defend home runs. right? And it's keep the ball in the yard, throw strikes. Easier said than done sometimes, but right? It's one of those things you can't defend a walk. You can't defend balls that leave the yard. So just trying to find a way to locate and let your defense work, just like that pitch as Lorenzo goes back to make the catch for the first out of the inning. And Boone is retired to bring up Ella Parker.
Riley Boone on that one. She's been doing it not consistently, but a couple times, almost like a shuffle into a swing. Not a slap where she's crossing over, but just a shuffle forward right before she swings. She's had a little bit extra power whenever she does that, but that one, her foot not down quite in time. So I think that's something that's new. He's learning, she is learning, okay, I have to find my timing, I have to find my rhythm, and that one clearly she was just late on.
Parker got things going for the Sooners in the first, started this game off with a double and came around to score on the Alyssa Brito triple. That's all she wrote as the Sooners put up a crooked number in the bottom of the first to make it 2-zip. Parker in the leadoff slot in game 2 in the leadoff spot here again today. And big hack from Ella Parker to make it 1 ball and 2 strikes.
This is a nice pitch from Smith. Curveball on the other side of the plate, making Parker reach, but also that curve just a little bit of a down angle. Misses that barrel. And those are the competitive pitches you want to see.
And Shelby Smith, I mean, arguably the ace on this staff, has thrown 116 2/3 innings on the year, 10-10 on the season with a save. But as we've talked about so much this weekend, this is a Houston pitching staff that has really been hampered by injury, and Shelby Smith taking on the bulk of that work as this is grounded, and it could be a pair. But Parker is going to beat it out just in time, but Houston gets the lead runner. 2 outs and bring up Tiare Jennings.
That one, again, that curveball outer half to Parker. It has just enough down tail with the outerward movement that if you don't stay on it, you're going to feel like you're out in front. You're going to lose your legs. That's what Parker did, an easy, tailor-made ball for your defense to be able to do something with.
Really, as Jennings stands in and Tiare passing Kristen Vesely, Houston's head coach, former OU great, this weekend as she had a 2-hit game earlier in this series to put her at 294 and just 6 hits away from 300. You feel like every time Jennings comes to the plate, there's another stat that gets thrown up of what record is she chasing? Who could she potentially pass on the OU record books?
We get notes, game notes from each team, and there's some that are short, quick, simple, but underneath Tiare Jennings, there's a whole line, there's a whole list, things to watch out for. This record might be broken.
She's about to have her own packet at this point.
Just very, very consistent at a high level as a batter. And she's done great things for Oklahoma just her whole 4 years.
4-pitch walk delivered to Jennings. That is the 4th walk delivered by Houston pitching here today to bring up Jada Coleman. And on the weekend, walks have been an issue for Houston pitching. In game 2, 7 walks delivered by the Houston pitching staff as Hope Troutwine and Kristen Vesely make their way out to have a chat. 4 already, as we mentioned here today. And if my memory serves me correct, 7 delivered in game 1 as well. So Houston pitching putting themselves themselves in some of these tough situations, because really and truly, Shelby Smith has thrown some pretty good pitches since she entered this ball game.
She has, but the consistency, and that goes back to keys to the game, the balls to strike ratio for Houston, they are just missing. And whenever you're missing and you're allowing these hitters to take passes where they don't even want to compete for that pitch, they don't even feel tempted by that pitch, it's a tough spot to be in defensively. We saw Shelby Smith, that curveball that she has is so good, and it makes easy tailor-made plays for her defense. But if you're so worried about getting hit, it's gonna be hard to be able to find the zone consistently because you're gonna be pitching carefully.
And Hope Troutwine wraps up her discussion with the battery. Familiar face here in Norman, as this is her first season on the Houston coaching staff, part of that 2022 national championship team. And Smith back to work as she faces Jada Coleman with runners at first and second and 2 outs. Coleman drew a walk back in the first and came around to score. Yo one fouled off, and Smith ahead here, no balls and 2 strikes.
That one fouled off, hit the awning, bounced in the dugout, bounced into the lap of a fan. How's that for getting a souvenir?
Jada Coleman hacking each pitch in this at-bat.
All 3 have been on that outer half. You can tell Smith, she wants to stay on that curveball. That is her best pitch. Whenever she throws it, the Sooners, they have a hard time scoring that pitch up. But you can't stay there too long against a hitter like Jada Coleman.
The 0-2 lifted to left field, but the play is going to go off the glove of Butte. Runners on the move. Jennings will score. Parker has scored. And on what looked like the 3rd out of the inning, and what I'm going to assume is going to be called and ruled an error, Sooners plate a pair to make it 4-0.
Butte, she had one bobble earlier in the game. That one bounced off the side of the wall, but this one here, it was a great job of her ranging back. This one was hit squarely, but she just closes that glove just a second too soon. Almost caught it with her bare hand, and it tips off her hand, and Jada Coleman, she's standing on second with 2 runs scored.
Tough break for Houston. Brings up Alyssa Brito, who had a 2 RBI triple back in the first. And again, going back to the things that you cannot defend. Couple of walks in this inning delivered by Smith, and then the error. But Smith, opportunity to get out of this inning. The miscue makes it 4-0.
It was a good pitch by Smith on that outer corner. But again, it goes to, if you are pounding the zone with strikes, that probably gets called a strike. I've seen Deal get called with a strike on that pitch, but whenever you're missing, umpire's less likely to give it to you.
Ground ball to short. Lorenzo fired across, and that will do it for the Sooners, but not before an error makes it 4-0.
The UCLA series against Stanford, where they won the series, that slide at the plate, the obstruction call at home, that is something that has been so controversial with the new rule. OU and Texas, they had one. UCLA, Stanford, they had one. I guarantee it's not the last time we'll see it. With the new rule in place, it makes things a little dicey. Oh my gosh, Alyssa Brito.
What a play.
That arm angle, I mean, that was just ridiculous. That ball was rolling very slowly. Look how she is able to whip that arm across her body. Her momentum still carrying her full speed.
Yep.
That wasn't a slow down, let me field it. She was going full speed.
And
wow, that was a great play.
Brooke Lorenzo trying to get something moving and catch the defense sleeping, and Alyssa Brita says nope. One away as Paige Halsey stands in.
That was a good bunt by Lorenzo.
Tremendous.
The location wasn't bunted too hard. And I like the thought of bunting in that situation.
And there have been a couple times, you know, Alyssa Brito's gotten burned crashing too quickly. We've seen here in recent weeks of teams laying down bunts or what have you, and Alyssa Brito making the adjustment. Big time play, and this OU defense has shined this weekend.
Talk about somebody who's been shining. Kirsten Deal just pounding the zone, but her movement today feels commanding. And you see that sometimes from her, and then you don't. And this is what Coach Gasso talked about. She wants to feel from Kirsten Deal that she's ready to handle big-time games because they are coming, and her number will be called. She wants to see her throw like she is today.
And Deal working all quadrants. We're seeing her work east and west. We're seeing her work up and down. And like you said, Nicole, just showing command of each pitch that she's throwing. As that foul ball catches Kinsey Hansen. Gonna take a minute. Deal checking in on her battery mate.
Kinsey Hansen flexing the fingers of the glove hand a little bit. That foul ball might have caught the glove in an awkward spot, caught the fingers. Tell you what, Kinsey Hansen's one of the toughest people that I know. You can see her shaking out those fingers. She had bruises all over her body, willingly putting on gear to catch a ball that's being hurled at you, foul balls thrown in your direction.
It's a catcher's life, right, Nicole? That's part of the gig.
I would love to hear from the perspective of a catcher how they view the game, because they see everything, they control everything, not just your pace and your battery with your pitcher, but also where the ball needs to be directed, where these runners are going, where your defense is set up.
And I think to that point, that's part of the reason catchers are typically good hitters.
Yeah.
And as that pitch just misses a bit outside and count runs full, but you know, catchers are typically some of the better hitters in your lineup, and it's because I firmly believe they see the game differently. They read spins differently, have a different viewpoint of the strike zone. And speaking of strike zone, Kirsten Deal hammers it, putting up her fifth, math is hard, fifth strikeout of the day, and hitting that spot 3-2.
That one, the back door, it just last minute breaks over the plate. Looks like it's going to start in the river. And Halsey, she knows that pitch is going to break back over, but she's just not able to get that barrel on plane in time.
That'll roll it back over to the top, and Boutte grounds out to make it a 1-2-3 inning for Deal. We head to the bottom of the third. Sooners on top, 4-zip.
It's a beautiful.
Their trip to the White House. They've been there so much here in the last few years. As Cassidy Pickering stands in. They don't even need to get a hotel when they go anymore. They just
stay at one of the rooms in the White House.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. President, which one's my room?
They've been there enough the last 3 years. As Pickering drew a walk back in the first, was stranded at second.
I mean, most people don't even get to go inside the White House, meet a president. Coach Gasso, she's been there seven times.
As Smith falls behind, 3 balls and no strikes. Smith looking to get back in the count. She rocks and fires the 3-0 and misses upstairs another walk delivered by Houston pitching makes it 5 on the day to bring up Kinsey Hansen.
And me at this point, I know Houston is thinking Shelby Smith. She's been our ace. She has that lefty look. She's slower, she's spinny. You can draw her out in front. But since she's come in, she's had several walks. I would get Solis. She looked very good in game 2. I would get her warmed and ready to go. Excuse me, game 1.
5 balls in a row delivered by Smith as Coleman heads out to have a chat with her pitcher. And Hansen was the first batter that Smith faced when she entered this game back in the first. Hansen showed bunt, popped it up on the infield. But if you look at Smith's outing today, the 2 runs that have scored were unearned, but the run that was put on the base paths to begin with was put there via the walk, as we've seen so often. The 1-0 is grounded up the middle, and Hansen has her first hit of the day. Gonna be a bobble by Thomas, but Pickering decides better of it, and will stay put at second base. Back-to-back base runners to start the third here for the Sooners, and that'll bring up Avery Hodge with runners at first and second. Expect to see a little short game here, Mindy?
I don't know. I feel like the Sooners have been doing such a great job of just squaring up balls. Maybe a little bit of a bunt and miss. See if you can draw something. See if there's any possibility. Pickering, she has some speed over at second, but I don't know.
And Hodge shows bunt. We'll pull it back for a ball. Hodge 0 for 1 here today, popped up to second base back in the first.
You can see Patty Gasso, she's talking to Hodge saying, look at this infield. Look how you spread them out. Look how they're moving around. Avery Hodge has great barrel control. There's a lot she can do in this situation. Bunt, slap, hit.
Hack in there as the count evens up at 1. As you mentioned, Nicole, Avery Hodge, just so many different tools from the lefty. Has good wheels. Can also hit gap to gap. Waving on the outside corner makes it 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Speed curve on that lower half, that curve that goes across the plate. It just looks so tempting, especially to a lefty, but it just continues to tail away from you and tail down. Really good pitch by Smith.
Smith finding the strike zone as she's ahead here, a ball and 2 strikes. Couple of changes for Houston defensively as senior Amanda Carden is now in left. And Butte slotted into the DP spot. Taria Coleman continuing to be nails behind the plate. Really been impressed with Coleman in the way that she has just handled this pitching staff. And we've said it all weekend. A Cougar staff that has just had to roll the dice at times as far as who's in the circle, and Coleman has just really done a good job of managing whoever is in the circle. Long look from Smith. She brings the 2-2. Called strike 3. And Smith, a big strikeout. And you can hear the groans from Sooner fans, but that's too tight to take 2 strikes.
I don't know. That one might have missed. No, that one got the corner. Avery Hodge stepping in that front toe. It almost hit her. But that's how tight on the line she was. That was a great pitch by Smith.
Strikeout to bring up Alina Torres
And to that point, we talked about whenever you're missing the zone a lot, that pitch is not going to get called. It hasn't been called for Smith. That's why I was surprised on that strikeout. But this inning, she's been pounding the zone a little bit more consistently. Yes, she ended up walking somebody, first batter, but overall, she's been pounding the zone more. So whenever you do that, you're used to seeing those strikes. Those are going to get called.
And as it should be. And, you know, I'm a firm believer if you're throwing strikes and you're around the zone, you get the river. You get the borderline when you've been hammering the strike zone. But if you're not, that strike zone maybe isn't as forgiving. So the 0-2 is laced. Foul. Torres drew a walk in her first at-bat back in the second, was stranded at second. The 0-2, a little off speed, hit well to the right side. Halsey will glove it as Pickering tags and will move safely up to third base to put runners at the corners for Riley Boone.
That ball squared up nicely by Torres. Just taking this ball where it was pitched. Lefty angle from a righty hitter, that right center alleyway. I mean, that's where you want to blast it. It was a good job staying on that ball, staying through it, and then good job by the outfield tracking that down. Hewley being able to make that catch.
2 outs. Runners at first and third for Boone. Boone popped up to short in her first at bat. And since the walk and the single to Kinsey Hansen, Avery Hodge, Torres, and now Riley Boone. Shelby Smith, first pitch strike to each batter she has faced after the leadoff walk here in the third.
And just that play ago, I noticed it. Would want to get a double look on that video, but it looked like Pickering might have left second base early. If you're in the dugout watching, that's something that you want to point out because you're out of this inning.
It popped up on the infield. Bree Cantu is underneath it. And the Sooners go quietly as we head to the top of the fourth. 4-0 OU today. Kirsten Deal has been on fire in the circle. Only base runner for Houston has been a walk that was delivered back in the second. But Tufts T are going 2-3-4 in what is the most productive part of this Cougar lineup, as senior Kennedy Thomas stands in. Thomas, a strikeout victim back in the first. Five Ks on the day for Deal. That pitch misses low. And Thomas, 375 on the year. He's drawn 23 walks. And it's just been really tough in the top half of this Houston lineup. Pretty quiet here this weekend, though. 0 for 3 in game 2.
Right now, she just looks very calm, very patient, quiet in the box.
Deal behind here, 3 balls and a strike. The 3-1.
That one probably wasn't a strike. That one got away. But again, you pound the zone, you get called strikes. This at bat, Kirsten Deal has been struggling to find the zone, but her past innings, that might have called into favor. But Kinsey Hansen was running to catch that ball.
And popped up on the infield. Jennings jump mans it for the first out of the inning here in the fourth to bring up Jasmine Rollin.
Jennings using a little bit of that height.
I would have needed a step stool to get up there.
I don't know if I can jump that high. I feel like as an outfielder, I need to be able to jump that high, but let some height to her.
Jasmine Rollin pops the first pitch foul, and Rollin struck out looking back in the first, but has shown her power here this weekend. 2-run shot last night. Has 10 home runs on the season. And Deal really hammering the zone. 51 pitches thrown, and of those 31 strikes. But I've got to say, the balls at 20, a lot of those have been thrown here in this inning.
Yeah. She'll have 1 or 2 misses, but like you said, this inning, a lot of balls, a lot of nibble pitches, I would say, throughout this game. So yeah, it's close to being tight, but most of her balls have come from pitchers' pitches that have been called balls.
Mm-hmm. Back to work. It's the 1-1. Nice location on the outer half as Rollin swings through for strike 2.
That one, as a hitter, you feel like you have to defend that. That got called for a strike. That one's out past the river, closer to chalk, but gets called for a strike. As a hitter, you see that, you go, I have to defend that. And that's on expanding the zone.
I've got to say, that pitch, I feel like that was closer than the strike call we saw on Kennedy Thomas. I'm not going to lie. I was about 2 seconds away from saying ball 4, but either way, and out in the scorebook as Deal brings the 2-2, and expanding the zone she does. 6th strikeout on the day as she sits down Jasmine Rollin for the 2nd time here in this ball game.
Rollin, you can see that back leg. All she's doing is being able to lead her into that low and away. She doesn't have the power to get through it. She kind of falls over the plate. Nice pitch by Deal, being able to lead her into that location.
The K brings up junior Taria Coleman, who struck out back in the 2nd.
What I mean, lead her into that location. Deal, she threw that first pitch, got a swing and miss. Threw the next one, it was wide. And then the 3rd one came back to that location, but just dropped it down. And as a hitter, whenever you see that, okay, I know she's going outside, I'm gonna be hunting outside, you're more prone to swing at something, especially with two strikes on something that you're hunting.
And one thing Deal has done a good job of in this ball game is not just working in and out, but changing the eyes up and down. And textbook in the sequence to Rollin. The foul ball evens it up at 2s.
Coleman, she's been quiet this series. Have 2nd most RBIs on the team. A lot of power from her, but she just looks like she's guessing what pitch is coming and doesn't look like she has a plan of what exactly she's hunting.
And the 2-2 just misses outside to run the count full.
Yeah, and you can hear the crowd, the little bit of oohs and ahs. That's because that pitch has been called for a strike. It's not a strike.
It is
but
not a
it's
strike.
been called a strike several times. They're kind of used to that being called by now.
Full count payoff pitch, grounded right back to Deal, flashing the leather. And that will do it for the Cougars in the 4th. Top of the order, due up 4. Getting late and Baylor, but a one-run game as Baylor's on top of UCF 1-0, and Iowa State took down Utah Valley 4-2. And that's our Air Comfort Solutions scoreboard, as this is grounded past the glove of Lorenzo, and Ella Parker is aboard for the third time here today.
She's liking that leadoff spot. Ella Parker, what a freshman. She's explosive and she is powerful. We talked about, as a defender, the same hit ball, 1, maybe 5 miles an hour harder. It's harder to field, and you could see Lorenzo on that one. Took a couple of quick short hops, got to her in a hurry, but she was trying to find the in-between, trying to find that in-between hop. Wasn't able to get it, gets past her.
The air will bring up Tiare Jennings, and this is skied high to left field as Lorenzo takes care of it for the first out of the inning.
Jennings just misses underneath that one. She has been seeing the ball so well. Again, as far as getting on base, I haven't seen her on base too much, but the balls that she has hit is so hard, and that one just missed underneath, but everything else has been pretty solid. Line drives, hard hits, just going right to people.
Jada Coleman looking for her first hit of the day. Drew a walk and came around to score back in the first, and responsible for 2 runs in the second on what was ruled an error out and left. But a pair in the first and a pair in the second has made it 4-0 Sooners. As Smith falls behind here, 2 balls and no strikes.
Coleman showed bunt on that roll-in. She was back pretty deep. Coleman has a lot of power, a lot of pop. We've seen that, a lot of ground balls getting through the infield. They respect that. They're taking a couple steps back. She's a smart hitter. She sees where the defense is. She plays into that.
Cat Rose with 3 balls and no strikes. To Coleman, Alyssa Brito waits on deck. And in this series, I mean, Houston, we've seen a couple mistakes defensively here and there, but defense struggling a bit here today, and you pair that with some walks, as that is the 6th walk delivered in this ball game. And that'll bring up Alyssa Brito. Brito, a 2 RBI triple back in the first, made it 2-0 early, and grounded out to short in the second.
Back to your point of the walks, Smith being able to rebound a little bit last inning, but somebody told me whenever I first started playing softball, started as a pitcher, of course, and they said the walks always come around. It may not be in that inning, but the walks always come around. They'll check on that swing, didn't get it.
Well, that's been kind of the story of the weekend for Houston at times. And I think we've had this conversation a lot, Nicole, of it hasn't felt as tough for these pitchers as the scoreboard has shown. And I think so much of that has kind of circled back around to the free passes and the walks. And today, a pair of errors from Houston defense, and makes it tough to win that way. Runners at first and second, 1 out for Brito. As Smith brings the 2-1 and misses in the dirt. Coleman continuing to battle behind the dish.
See a little bit of frustration from Smith on that one. She wanted that pitch. Doesn't want to fall behind 3-1 to a hitter like Brito.
Count runs full. As foul ball into the dugout. Get your gloves.
Heads up. See, Maya Bland was smart. She walked out of the dugout to avoid the ball. Everybody else just have to duck.
Gotta always be on your toes at Loves Field. Never a dull moment. Payoff pitch to Brito. Hooked foul and pitch up in the zone.
Up in the zone, but tight in on the hands, and that's something that Smith has done the last 2 innings. She started last inning of going a little bit tighter in on the hands of lefties and righties, but lulling them away, go in hard. Her pace, her tempo slows them down.
The 3-2 skied to center field. And the catch will be made. Not deep enough for anybody to tag, and 2 quick outs.
That right there, again, another double play defensively. You need to be communicating, especially if you're Cantu over at first base. Jada Coleman didn't think she was going to catch that. She was more than halfway to second base. If Cantu is vocal, if the catcher is vocal, defense is vocal, they have Jada Coleman completely hosed over at first base. And again, you're out of an inning.
Cassidy Pickering stands in, has drawn 2 walks here today after a 2-for-2 night in game 2 here on Saturday. But I'm with you, Nicole. I mean, 4 runs on the board for Oklahoma, what really should be 2 at this point. An opportunity for Houston to get out of it again and strand another, and Sooners again picking up 2 wins on this weekend, but have left a lot of runners on base. As the 2-0 catches the outside corner for called strike 1. One to Pickering. Misses outside, and Smith falls behind here. 3 balls and a strike. (3-1) and a trio of walks for Pickering on the day.
Cassidy Pickering, as a hitter, sometimes it can be frustrating. You'll see Hope Troutwine, pitching coach for Houston, call time, go out, talk to her pitcher. Besley going out as well to talk to her defense. But as a hitter, whenever you get 2 walks, you're thinking your third at bat, okay, here we go. They're gonna pitch to me. It's hard to stay patient. She did a great job that at bat. And you and I mentioned it a couple innings ago, we want to see more consistency going at hitters. If you're Houston, I think this would be a good time to make that change. This is the 2nd time Kenzie Hansen is going to be seeing 3rd. I don't know if I count the first one. First pitch bunt popped up, so she didn't really get to see Smith. But the 2nd time that she's seeing her, 3rd technically.
But Hansen
The
a
leash
single.
has to be short.
Yeah, Hansen a single back in the 3rd off of Smith, and they're going to stick with Smith. And in this game so far, if you look at Smith's outing, entered out of the bullpen back in the 1st, stranded some runners, got 2 quick outs on a couple of pop-ups. In the 2nd, had a walk, got a couple of quick outs, had another walk, but a fly out off of the glove of Boutte kind of squandered Smith being able to get out of the inning. As she fires the first pitch to Hansen on the inner half for a called strike, but also opportunities here in the 4th between walks and an error of Houston, another inning that they should be out of. But an opportunity here with bases loaded and 2 outs.
Good block by Coleman. To that point, Oklahoma Last inning didn't get to score. They scored 2 in the first, scored 2 in the second. You don't want to fall into the trap of loading up the bases, getting out. I'm going to see them score at least 1 this inning. Put a lot of work in, a lot of discipline, get 1.
Count goes a ball and 2 strikes. Sooners have left 5 runners on base in this ball game so far.
And that's been something that they've been struggling with all series long, right? We talked about coming into this game, they've left 20 runners on base in 2 games. That's something that they're focusing on. This shows that they're locked in if they can get some runners across here.
The 1-2 to Hansen, grounded right at Rollins. She's going to fire it across, and Smith and the Cougars get out of a bases-loaded jam to keep it at 4 as we head to the top of the 5th. This is OU softball.
From pitch number 1, we have felt that from Deal. She has gone out, she has competed, and she has a great feel of where the strike zone is for today with this umpire, where the swings are, where the holes are in this Houston lineup. And she's done such a good job. You can tell her game plan, that trust between Kinsey Hansen and Jen Rocha, her pitching coach, and then herself. There's a lot of confidence and there's a lot of trust there today.
Lots of swings and misses from Deal in this ball game, and that's something you track. That's something you track as a pitching coach, because again, even if you're getting outs, but they're hard outs, hard ground balls. Line drives to center field as Deal's ahead here. No balls and 2 strikes quickly. But if you're not getting a lot of swings and misses, you kind of know it's a matter of time before a team like Houston kind of starts to get on the ball. But Deal really doing a good job with her sequences in this ball game so far.
Deal, the lefty, throws mid-60s, a lot of backdoor, a lot of curveball. But today we've seen her utilize both of those, but also down in the zone as well.
A ground ball to short will retire Smith for the first out of the inning to bring up Bree Cantu.
It's great footwork by Jennings. A quick half step back to be able to catch that in 1 on the hop. Something subtle, but so consistent. Her fielding average is just phenomenal.
Jennings has really done a good job at short, filling the shoes of Grace Lyons. And Cantu, the only Cougar to reach base in this ballgame, drew a walk back in the 2nd. As this is poked to the right side, and it's going to get down in front of Pickering, and the Cougars have their first hit of the game. Second base runner, and Cantu getting it done at the plate.
First hit of the game coming from the best hitter in Houston's lineup.
And a little bit of a check swing, Nicole.
I was about to say, I will take that swing. If you continue to shut down the way that you have been, I'm okay with giving that one up, because you had her fooled. It was a check swing, just fell into the right spot. And to Cantu, the power that she has tells you you're just check swinging and it's hit hard enough to get through the infield. I mean, come on.
Cantu is aboard for the freshman Bethany Aguilar, who grounded out to short in her first at bat. Well, you've been saying it, Nicole. Shorten up. That's one way to do it.
Yeah, especially against somebody like Deal. She's throwing in those mid-60s. That's enough power where you don't need to generate a huge load to be able to get a powerful hit to get some momentum. It's got to be short and on plane early with your barrel. Especially those lefties in the lineup. Deal knows how hard it is for a lefty hitter to get their barrel on plane on a pitch that's tight on the inside. That's why she's been living there against them.
2-1 to Aguilar, misses low, and Deal falls behind here, 3 balls and a strike. a spot she has not been too often in this game, but if we look at the last couple of innings, we have seen more 2-0, 3-1 counts from Deal.
Yeah, this is just the 4th time that she's thrown 2 balls in a row all game.
Going back to the rise ball as Aguilar swings straight through to run the count full.
But that was her 9th swing and miss. She has been really good just working through the zone, missing those barrels.
Aguilar stays alive, and as we mentioned, the only freshman in the Houston starting lineup, and hasn't seen a ton of time on the year. Started 11 games, but has started each game in this series here in Norman. And it'll be a called strike 3 on Aguilar, and you can see Aguilar making her way to first base. Clearly thought the pitch was low.
It again, that's another pitch where you're just like, man, that is not a strike. That was a great frame job by Kinzie Hansen. Look how quickly she holds it, but that is not a strike. That's a ball that's low on that outer half. It was a good take by her. That's a tough call.
Tough call, but that will bring up Brooke Lorenzo. 7th K on the day for Deal, and it looks like we are going to see a pinch hitter for Houston as Katie Repa, the senior, is going to stand in. And Repa had a pinch hit opportunity in the first game of the set. Saw a little bit of time last night in game 2 as well, and picked up a hit coming off the bench in game 2. .250 hitter on the season. The 0-1 misses upstairs. And Deal just efficient.
Yeah. She's bumped up that strike efficiency as well.
It's the 1-1, catches the outside corner, and Deal ahead here, a ball and 2 strikes.
Now, those aren't strikes, but those have been called consistently. At some point, Houston, you know that, but you have to make the adjustment as a hitter. That is maybe the 4th or 5th one that's been called. And you're saying that's off the plate. Yes, but it's being called defend.
And you took the words right out of my mouth, Nicole. It's whether it's a strike or not, as far as the strike zone goes, it's been a strike all day. And that's kind of where you have to be. If it's a strike, you've got to defend. As Deal brings the 1-2, little change of speeds, but misses low. Hit to center field, but Jada Coleman is going to take care of it for the 3rd out of the inning. Sooners go to the bottom of the 5th on top 4-0. Back to OU softball, brought to you in part by Courtyard by Marriott. We go to the bottom of the 5th. 7-8-9 as Avery Hodge lays down a bunt, but Jasmine Rollin takes care of it for the 1st out of the inning, and Houston defense stepping up.
Rollin, she ended the inning last time with a hard hit from Kinzie Hansen. Handled that bounce very well, got the out. And again, this bunt crashes very well. And she's able to continue her momentum, keep it going, get Hodge out. She's been looking solid over there at 3rd.
That out to bring up Alina Torres. Torres drew a walk back in the 2nd. Had a sacrifice fly back in the 3rd. 0 for 3 night for Torres in game 2. Did come come around to score a run. And as this game is getting deep, I mean, 4 runs on the board for the Sooners, but only 3 hits on the day.
8 runners left on base. Plenty of opportunities.
And 3 hits on the board for the Sooners, but 7 walks delivered by Houston pitching. But Shelby Smith, who entered this ball game back in the first, 2 unearned runs given up in the second, but she has worked around some jams, has not had a 1-2-3 inning since she's entered this ball game, but has gotten herself out of some tough situations, including a bases loaded jam back in the 4th. Balls behind here, 3 balls and a strike. Ground ball to short. Lorenzo on fire, and they're going to say that Cantu was able to keep her foot on the bag. And Torres is retired.
Nice job by Cantu. I think she might have lifted it, but she brought it back down knowing Torres, she's hightailing it really, really close. Get that foot back down as quick as possible.
And the throw took Cantu away, but does a great job of recovering. And that'll bring up Riley Boone, and perfectly placed slap, and it's a 2-out single.
If you're a slapper,
Take notes on
that
that.
is the location that you always try to do. I try to do that all the time. I know Riley Boone in practice tries to do that all the time. I think of all the great slappers that I've worked with, that spot is so hard to hit with that kind of bounce, with that kind of slow roll. That was a great location by Riley Boone. I mean, textbook. If you're a slapper, go back, watch that. That was fantastic.
The 2-out single will bring up Ella Parker, and Parker has reached base every time here today. Started the game with a double back in the first and came around to score, reached base in the second on a fielder's choice, and eventually came around to score and reached base in the 4th on an error.
Hit and run action. Riley Boone taking off as soon as that pitch was thrown. Seen a little bit less of it today. And maybe that's why the runs are down, but Coach Gasso forcing the hands of her hitter. She was saying, we're going to use a call card a lot. They did the first 2 games.
1-1 to Parker, hit well to center field, and it's going to get off the top of the wall. Here comes Boone rounding third. Parker slides into second safely. Second double of the day for Ella Parker, and bounced off the very top of the center field wall. And Jordy Wilkins did a great job of getting this in and making it a tight play at second. Curious. Can't get much closer than that of whether or not it...
I don't know. As it stands, bounce back in. That was a tight, close play at second. I think she thought it was out and wasn't quite getting there as quickly because she thought, okay, I'm just going to be trotting around.
And the 2-out double makes it 5-0 Sooners. 2-hit day for Ella Parker, second double on the day. The 0-1 to Jennings just misses low, and I want to go back to Riley Boone's at bat. 2 groundouts, and what looking like what could have been the first 1-2-3 inning for Shelby Smith and Houston in this game, and Riley Boone takes the first pitch she sees and just finds finds a way to get things moving with 2 outs. As this is popped up on the infield, and Brooke Lorenzo will glove it. Sooners plate 1. We head to the top of the 6th. OU on top, 5-0. Walk and a hit, but she has really handled this Houston offense well, Nicole.
The way that she has been pitching, and on the big screen right now, Gayla Boone wearing her national championship hat for her daughter. But the way that Deal has been pitching today, this has been the lowest. Now, it is 5-0, but it's been the lowest that Oklahoma has scored so far this game, or this weekend. She's done a good job of making that 5-0. It was previously 4-0. That 4-0 lead feel a lot bigger than it is because she has been so efficient at shutting down this offense for Houston. They just got their first hit last inning.
Zaquad Dumas pinch hitting in the 9 spot for Halsey. And Dumas had a pinch hit spot yesterday and drew a walk.
Steele's 11th swing and miss this game.
And I think that's a good point that you make, Nicole, about it being a 5-0 ball game right now, but it feels so in control. And Kirsten Deal has been just such a huge part of that from the first pitch of this ball game, and has just set the tone and the tempo for Oklahoma in the circle. This count runs full. Dumas, a senior, trying to get something started for the Cougars as this game's starting to get a little bit late. And we've talked about this all weekend. This is a Houston team that is used to, unfortunately, having to play catch up and chip away as games start to get later, and so much confidence in what they have offensively. As Hansen's going to fire it for the 8th strikeout delivered by Kirsten Deal here in this ball game to roll it back over to Boutte in the top of the order.
It was a good pitch up in the zone, just getting, again, the swings and misses, missing the barrel. And then Kenzie Hansen, that one bounced off her glove, had to chase it down, took the time to step inside the baseline, makes it easy for her first baseman Torres to catch that.
And Amanda Carden, the senior, in the box for Houston. And Carden entered this game in left field. The Dayton, Texas native. The 0-1, Mrs. Lowe. Houston head coach Kristen Vesely made quite a few changes in this ball game, trying to get something sparked for Houston as a team that is offensively one of the best, as Carden is retired and Deal making a couple plays in the circle in this ball game.
That's the second one that we've seen from her. The one before was from Coleman. That was a hard shot back to her, but the way that she's able to react, and then she takes her time. That's the most important thing. Sometimes you see pitchers make great plays, and then they'll rush to make the throw. That momentum of the moment of them catching the ball kind of takes over. She does a good job of catching the ball, taking her time, and getting it over to first.
Ground ball to Brito, backhanded. And Deal retires the side in the 6th. We head to the bottom half. OU
had bases loaded at one point, runners in scoring position a couple of times, just not being able to capitalize and get those runs across. They came out and did such a good job early on. Left one or two, but I would say since the third, they've left a ton of runners. The number has just continued to increase. And that is where Oklahoma has struggled, not just this weekend, but all year long.
And you talk about it, and we had the conversation with Coach Gasso after the BYU loss, and it's something, and you just mentioned it, Nicole, of leaving runners on base. But even when this team is winning and winning ball games, 2 run rules on the weekend as head coach Kirsten Deal makes her way out. But even in the run rules, again, 20 runners left on base in those 2 wins. And head coach Kirsten Deal wanted to have a chat with home plate umpire Kaylee Young.
The question she's asking is, oh, I got to re-enter somebody.
A lot of changes from this Houston lineup throughout this ball game. Is Jordy Wilkins in center field.
It was Paige Holsey that was re-entered out into left field. We talked about it. Smith, she's been consistent. Had her struggles, struggled with the strike zone. We still see it sometimes, but she's done a good job of getting herself out of jams and has allowed her defense to start working for her.
.92 pitches on the day for Smith, and as you said, Nicole, worked out of some jams, and some of those jams self-inflicted. Some walks on the day, a couple of errors from Houston defense, but Smith finding a way as this is grounded right back to her. She'll spin, and Coleman is retired to start the 6th. Now to bring up Alyssa Brito. Brito, a triple back in the first, got the scoring going for the Sooners. Her only hit of the day flew out to center back in the 4th.
Brito has been just a catalyst for run production for Oklahoma. She has done such a good job just being consistent with it. 44 RBIs on the year, just second behind Tiare Jennings. And just the way that her and Jennings get their barrel on plane early on in their swing. If you watch her swing in slow motion, as soon as that front foot is down, that barrel is on plane right away.
2-0 to Brito, grounded down the left field line into the corner. Brito will round first, and she's got herself her 2nd extra base hit on the day. And we've said it over and over and over. Nicole, Love's Field has a magnet down the left field line.
This one, Brito comes around, but again, watch that barrel. It stays on plane a little early, but because she's on plane, she's able to get all of that ball and pull it. Lorenzo was just a couple steps off. Roland was a couple steps off of third base. And there's a wide gap there, rolled into the corner. Able to get an easy double, but again, a catalyst for this lineup.
The double roll over to Cassidy Pickering, and Pickering 3 walks on the day.
The question is, DJ, do you think she's gonna go 4 for 4 with 4 walks?
Hey, it's not a bad day.
That's a great day.
Name of the game, right, Mendez? Find your way on base. That's it. Moneyball. I think we call that Moneyball, Nicole. So the 0-1 misses outside.
In the mindset that you have to be in to say to yourself, yeah, a walk is really good. 3 walks, that's great. It's not as flashy as a double or a hit, but that shows that you have discipline at the plate.
Another souvenir for a fan. As Smith is ahead here, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Smith looking to leave another stranded. She's done it so often in this game. It's the 1-2 to Pickering. Just misses inside. Pretty good location from Smith.
Good location. That one has been called a strike. It's tough.
Yeah.
Because she sees that being called a strike and she goes, all right, let me put that there. Even then, though, with it being called a ball, that was 1 ball, 2 strikes. That's a good location. Backs her off the plate. Sets her up nicely for that slow away pitch that wants to make Pickering lean out in front. If that's a little bit lower, not so elevated, she might get a swing on that.
Count runs full to Pickering. As Smith's pitch count rolls over the 100 pitch mark. And the 3-2 misses outside.
4 for 4.
4 for 4. A walk day for Cassidy Pickering.
What a day.
You know what, though? We joke and saying 4 walks on the day, but just talking about the discipline coming from the freshman.
And we've seen both freshmen in this lineup be very productive in different ways. Cassidy Pickering, 4 for 4. You don't see that too often with 4 walks. And then Parker, I mean, she's gotten on every single time with hard hits, hard ground balls, hard line drives. Almost blasted one.
As Riley Ludlam is in to hit in Kinsey Hansen's spot, and we are joking about the 4 for 4. We clearly understand, but Cassidy Pickering is
but she
0 for 0 on the air, but finding her way on base 4 times. You may as well say she's 4 for 4. As head coach Kristen Vesely and Hope Troutwine make their way out to have a chat and having a discussion here about Riley Ludlam and the pitch hit spot, but Shelby Smith, as she has done all day, looking to work around runners in scoring position, as Ludlam represents what could be the game-ending run in this ball game, as the Sooners are on top 5-0 here in the bottom of the 6th, and runners at first and second with 1 out.
And I think the defense knows this, the coaching staff knows this. That's why they're coming together. They're game planning, they're strategizing. Right now they're saying, okay, how do we get the lead out? What is our plan of attack? We're wanting to make this batter do what? And for them, make it a ground ball. Get her out in front. That is what Smith does so well, is gets these hitters to want to go out in front, want to lean, reach for those balls. A pinch hitter who hasn't seen her this game today, it's a great opportunity to turn to, get out of an inning.
And so similar to where Houston found themselves in game 1 of this series, where in the bottom of the 6th inning, you blinked and the game was over. Via the run rule, as the first pitch way inside, but Coleman handles it well to keep Brito at second. And Ludlam on the year hitting .385 with runners in scoring position. The 1-0 is in for a called strike.
Ludlam using the infamous black bat. A couple of the Sooners are swinging it. It's the new Rawlings bat. It's a prototype, but everything's cleared. It's good to go. They just haven't released the look of the new one just yet, but a bunch of Sooners swinging it in games.
And Smith ahead here, a ball and 2 strikes. And looks like Quincy Lilio waiting on deck in what has been Avery Hodges' slot.
Coach Yasso talked about Lilio prior to the game and just how she does such a good job again, drawing walks, getting on base, coming around to score.
1-2 to Ludlam. Grounded foul, and we'll do the 1-2 again.
Good battle from Ludlam. She has shown time and time and time and time again that pinch hit spot is a tough place to live in, and she thrives on it. And if you're Sooners, you've left a lot of runners stranded. You don't want to do the same thing again. Shut the door here.
Ground ball, just foul. And Smith working in on the hands of Ludlam.
Of course, you want to get that lead out. You've seen Ludlam foul balls off, barely missing that fair line. Easy ground ball to third base. She steps on it, throws it over to first. You want to avoid that double play. Ludlam right now just keeping that in mind, knowing she's going to be thrown inside, trying to do whatever she can to send it the other way.
1-2, a little off speed, is popped up, and it's going to be a double play to get the Cougars out of the inning, and a base running mistake gets the Cougars out of it. Top 5-0. Let's take a look at the Big 12 standings. Entering Oklahoma has a 1-game lead over Texas, and still on top of the Big 12 standings. And Nicole, things are going to come down to the wire as we start to wind into the last couple of weeks of Big 12 conference play.
I mean, you see Oklahoma leading by 1, only 3 losses. Texas, 4 losses. Oklahoma State, 5 losses. The champ for Big 12 always runs through Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. That's going to be coming up in a few weeks. And look at that upcoming schedule. They have to get through UCF first. They have been a tough team, a bit of a sleeper team their first year in the conference. Everybody not really knowing what to expect, but they've had tight games. They've taken some games. They're going to have to play sharp if they want to come out on top.
A tough test for the Sooners down in Orlando next weekend against UCF, and lots of eyes going to be on what is going to be the final Bedlam series as the Sooners are headed to SEC next year. But still a bit to go here as Kirsten Deal looking to go the distance and finish the game out. It's only surrendered 1 hit on the day today. Quite a few differences for the Sooners defensively. Riley Boone moves to center field, and Hannah Core into left. Kinsey Hansen has been replaced by Riley Ludlam behind the plate. And everything else remains the same for the Sooners defensively here in the 7th. And Kirsten Deal set to face the 3-4-5 as Jasmine Rollins stands in. And Rollins, we've said it over and over, but has been responsible for the 2 runs put up by Houston so far in this weekend, with a 2-run home run in game 2 yesterday. And Kirsten Deal pumping the gun a little bit to make it 1 ball, 1 strike.
That might have hit 68. That one was pretty firm.
Another nice curveball from the sophomore to get ahead of Rollin. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
I think she knows with Rollin, you're going to have to pump the gas a little bit more. This is her 3rd time seeing her. She's a great hitter. Almost took her to a walk her last at bat. Very patient.
Rollin, a pair of strikeouts on the day, caught looking back in the 1st. And struck out swinging in the 4th. As Deal brings the 2-2. Little change of pace, but just misses low to run the count full. If you look at Deal's pitch count here in the 7th, has not hit 100 pitches yet.
Again, efficient with her pitches. Even her balls, they have been pitcher's pitches. Great setups for the next one that comes.
3-2 is hit well to right field. But Pickering takes care of it at the track, and Rollin is set down. That's a big out for Deal here in the 7th to bring up Taria Coleman.
Hope Troutwine not happy at all. There's a hard crosswind. If that wind is not there, that's a home run. But Hope Troutwine, very heated, rolling, bat flipped again.
Yep.
Bat flipped last game whenever she hit the home run. That one was a monster smash. This one just brought back in.
And you can see Hope Troutwine as this is fouled off and out of play. Tough to do the bat flip when it doesn't leave the yard. Either way, nobody on, 1 out here in the 7th. Houston down to their final 2 outs. Coleman grounded out back to Deal in the circle back in the 4th. Deal toes the rubber. 1-1, grounded down the left field line. Coleman rounds first, but she's going to be held up as Hannah Core brings it in quickly, and that'll bring up Shelby Smith with a runner at first and 1 out.
Hard hit from Coleman. That magnet striking again. I mean, that one was hit hard, but it stayed fair, not just across third base, but all the way down the line out to left field to Core. And I think that was a good job by Coleman holding up, not only because how quickly it got to Core, but the arm that she has on her. You don't want to risk that.
Shelby Smith 0 for 2 on the day. And struck out looking back in the 2nd.
And the last 2 at-bats from Houston batters have been hard hits. Yes, Roland ended up being a pop-out, but this wind is blowing hard. And even then, Pickering, she caught it pretty close to the warning track. And then that one from Coleman, that was hard down the line. It was 3rd time through the lineup for Deal. She's going to have to start making adjustments.
The 1-1. Fouled back and Deal ahead here, a ball and 2 strikes. 3 Cantu waits on deck. Cantu, the only Cougar to have reached base in both of her at-bats today.
And if Smith can get on, that's a dangerous place to be. You want that runner on base for Cantu if you're Houston.
Smith stays alive and seeing some life from the Houston Sticks. Really and truly some of the better swings we've seen off a Deal today here in the 7th.
Again, you're at that top half of the lineup. That is where a lot of damage gets done for Houston. They've been stifled so far this weekend, but still looking to do some damage before it's done.
The off-speed misses low. And Deal hasn't had to use the off-speed too much in this ball game.
And when she has, it hasn't been effective.
Took the words out of my mouth, Nicole.
So if you're Houston, you're saying, that's good to know. I don't have to worry about the slow. I can still focus on what I've been seeing all game.
The 2-2 delivery, strike 3. Big K from Kirsten Deal makes it 8 on the day. And Houston down to their last out.
Deal, she knows when to add just a little bit more heat. That ball tailing away from Smith, tailing up just a hair, but a couple of miles an hour faster. Looked like she was late on that ball.
9 Ks on the day for Kirsten Deal as Cantu stands in. As we mentioned, Cantu reached base in both at-bats, drew a walk in the 2nd and had the first hit of the game for Houston back in the 5th. It's the 1-0, catches the corner. Sharp break to make it 1 ball and 1 strike. Deal just now pushing over that 100-pitch mark, 107 on the day. It's the 1-1 up in the zone, and Deal a strike away from the complete game shutout.
Seeing that rise ball being put to good use against a heavy hitter like Cantu, and the crowd, they're up on their feet.
The 1-2 from Deal misses upstairs. Sooner faithful on their feet, looking for the series sweep as the 2-2 catches the corner. Call it a 10 strikeout day for Kirsten Deal. Sooners win 5-0. Take the series sweep from Houston, and Kirsten Deal, the complete game shutout, giving up 2 hits. How dominant was the sophomore today, Nicole?
I mean, 9 strikeouts. That is exactly what Jen Rocha, Patty Gasso, the Oklahoma team is looking for. They want that feeling. It was stifling. It was a complete game from 1 to 7. That was a great job by Kirsten Deal.
Soon